Fam, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of the CEO Pulse podcast, where you get the real, the raw, and the mind of entrepreneurship. Today, we are sitting down with Shaahin Cheyenne. Check this out. He developed a nootropic pill in the when he was a teenager and generated over a bill. That's a B, right? Over $1 billion in revenue. At a young age. After that, he's jumped into different areas, such as Amazon businesses. He's written a book, and his entrepreneurial experience. I mean, it's crazy. It's insane. It's you don't normally see that path, right? When you jump into entrepreneurship, you usually see the bootstrap type of story that happens, and we get challenges and things like that. But he really exploded. In the 90s with this thing, and it's just insane. It's like so far, ahead of its time. So I'm pretty excited to have you on and really tap into your overall story. I mean, we can use that as a platform for the conversation, but I think there's so much substance to everything that you do. So I'm very, very glad to have you on the show, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. Excited to be on and to have a conversation with an organizational psychologist, which I didn't even know was a thing, but now I realize I need one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can make things up, all day long now with online media and everything. So, no, it's actually one of the 11 recognized branches of psychology, and wow. And yeah, just like Wendy, I'm the Mexican Wendy Rhodes.
Love it.
So you're doing a couple of different things now, right? I mean, you wrote a book, you teach people how to build businesses on Amazon, and you also have an agency where you help people get on podcasts and push their brands to a whole nother level. Before we jump into all of that stuff, give me a little bit of context on your personal background. How did you get started as an entrepreneur, and how did you, how was the think so big from such an early age?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So we were immigrants. I came to the United States from Iran during the revolution, and we landed and very quickly realized how in Iran we were middle class, solid middle class. In the United States, we were poor. And my dad had to work odd jobs, pizza places, worked at a dry cleaners where I ended up working for most of 40 years almost, and just trying to make ends meet. And I realized at a young age, looking around me, man, there's wealth everywhere. There's the guy driving down Pacific Coast Highway, top down in his Ferrari with the beautiful blonde sitting next to him. I want to be that guy. I want those things. I want the big house. I want the fancy cars. I wanted all that wealth and success, but there was no path to it for me. So woke up one morning and I just realized, man, I need a change. And so I left home. I left home at 15, and I left behind everything, which wasn't much, just my family and a few things that I owned, and left to find my fame and fortune. And when I did, I got involved in the electronic music scene. I managed to get myself a mentor at that time. And in the electronic music scene, I realized that there was a lot of money being moved around. It was the 90s. It was the rave scene, the electronic music culture. Yeah. And the thing that I realized was that the people who were making the money weren't the people who were making the music. The people who were making the money were the people who were selling the drugs, one in particular called ecstasy or MDMA. And I decided very quickly that, hey, that'll be a great thing for me to do. Let me do that. One problem was that it was illegal.
Yeah.
And I had learned early on in my adolescence that I was very good at making money, very bad at crime, terrible at crime. And I remember thinking to myself at a very young age, what we did was we started a little criminal enterprise in school where we would go to the liquor store. We would steal little things, glue, cigarettes, liquor, those little bottles of liquor, and we would sell them in school. And I would make a lot of money, but I would constantly get caught. So I realized that, man, if crime ever comes up, I should just not do it because I'm fucking bad at crime. And so now fast forward, I'm in the rave scene. I don't have any money. I don't have anywhere to live. I was basically sleeping wherever I could lay my head. And here's this opportunity, but it carries with it this great risk. So I thought, how do I de-risk that? And I said, hey, man, what if I come up with an all natural legal alternative to ecstasy? How would that work? And I did it. And we went from 50 people to 1,000 people to 10,000 people to pretty soon having it sold all over the world. And the supply of ecstasy went down. And so there was no product out there for people to have. And our product was there to answer the demand in the marketplace. And we just went out, and in a very short course of time, I created over $1 billion in revenue from a startup, pre-internet, pre-social media, pre-cell phones. It was an incredible ride. And it's well documented for anybody who's interested. My book, Billion, How I Became King of the Thrill Pill Cult. It's out now on Amazon, Audible, wherever books are found.
Billion. We'll be sure to put a link to that. It's definitely outside of the box thinking, especially. I mean, now it's it's relatively easier, right, to picture something like that, something that catapults. Why? Because we have social media that we can leverage. We can spread the word. It's kind of like it's easier when it comes to that realm. But I mean, doing it in the 90s. I mean, that's a whole nother level, man. How did you guys go about it? Was it guerrilla marketing? Was it word of mouth? Or, and I mean, that's one of the questions, right? The other one is what inspired you to, I mean, yeah, I know that you saw a void, right? And like, what if we could come up with something that was, legal, a legal alternative? But how did you put that together? Because you kind of went from one point to the next real quick. And I don't know, I feel like there's stuff that we can definitely pluck from there.
Yeah.
So lessons, tenacity.
Yeah. So you had two great questions. Question number one is, how did I do it? Do I do it through social media? There is no social media.
Right.
What motivated me was hunger, literal hunger. I was hungry. I wanted to succeed. I wanted to make money. I wanted to, and I actually remember the first days of sales, I wouldn't eat. Not that I had very much money to eat. I would hang out at the community college, and when they gave away free food or whatever, that's where I would eat normally. But I wouldn't allow myself to eat until I made a sale. Why? Because it reaffirmed that making a sale person to person fed me. It reaffirmed that physically, so that I knew that making a sale had a positive connotation. And I teach this now to people and entrepreneurs how to make money. How I did it was maybe a little bit more interesting. So I created something, and I looked at the distribution before I looked at the product or the market. So I looked at, how am I going to distribute this? And I decided to distribute it through the drug dealers at the clubs. Why? Because it was untapped. There was a big barrier to entry because most people didn't want to deal with these characters, and they were difficult to get through to. But once you did, you had a captive audience of people who were selling drugs, who were taking this huge level of risk for a very small amount of profit in those days, because there was so much competition relative to the risk, I should say. Most of them were making a lot of money, but it was, they'd end up in jail. And so I utilized that as a distribution system. Then I generated publicity, most of it bad. But what happened? Well, what happened was, I would go on the news and they'd be like, isn't this stuff hurting people? Isn't this dangerous? And the people on TV wouldn't hear, isn't it dangerous? Their concern wasn't the danger of it. Their concern was, does it work? Could a natural pill do what ecstasy actually does? And if they say it's dangerous, that means it must work. So people started buying it. And we generated over $1 billion in sales using that concept. I spent so much time doing these talk shows and going from place to place, talking about the product. And no matter what they said, if they said the product was good, if they said it was bad, we would make money because they were talking about us. And it leads to a really good lesson, is that people hear what they want to hear. Yeah. And if you want to succeed, more so than becoming a salesperson that pushes things down people's throats. And I teach this again in my Amazon course. If anyone is interested in learning how to sell, how to make money online, reach out to me. It's darkzess@gmail.com, darkzess@gmail.com. And I teach this all the time. And I've got a free 1-hour course I'd love to share with your audience.
Wow. But yeah, absolutely.
rather than pushing something down people's throats that they don't want, you decide to become a decision architect. You create an environment where people have to have what you're selling, or the penalty for it is huge. And if that becomes the case, the penalty for them not having it is so big that they have to have it, they will beat down your door in order to get that thing. And now you've become a decision architect. You've created a pull to you. And that's what we did. We created something that people found irresistible. And we used the elements of influence as taught by Robert Cialdini in his famous book, Influence. I'm sure you've read it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really, really good book. This story almost reminds me, or the way that you went about it, reminds me of another book that I read a while back, or that I read a while back. It's by Ryan Holiday. Trust me, I'm lying, but they capitalize on guerrilla marketing, and almost like the bad connotation of things to get the word out there. And I mean, it goes to show the power of brand, right? Like drugs have a brand. There's already a context that's, going, whenever you say the word drug or drug dealer, there's already something that's attached to it. I'm drawing a blank on the word, but there's always something, already attached to it. Okay, it's a bad thing. It's a connotation, but you're leveraging that. You're leveraging that for the sake of distribution, for the sake of, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. This is untapped. If it's coming from these people, it's not supposed to be this real nice drug that, that's a happy, play may get you to a happy place, right? But it's not coming from a positive standpoint. It's something that's supposed to be a drug. What best way to do it than pushing it and keeping it legal that way? Is that what your thought process was like when you were going through it?
No, not at all. So let me expand on your thought. I think I can contribute to what I think you're trying to say. I was taught by my teacher that everything has a spirit. It's a very Taoist principle. Like a rock has a spirit, right? It's hard, it's cold, it's unmovable. A stone, boulder. Steel has a spirit, right? It's hard, it's impenetrable. Products and brands and businesses and people also have a spirit. There's a feeling to them. And if you don't shy away from what your nature is, if you don't shy away from what the nature of the product is, what you're calling brand, then you come into a place where you're your true self. And if you can own that, if you can own that authenticity, which is what we're talking about, that truth, then you control the narrative in a way that nobody else can. Because there's a lot of bullshit out there. And your product, your service isn't going to be perfect for everybody. When people lose is when they go, oh, I've got this thing. And people are like, yeah, it's not really that thing. You'll go, oh, okay, well, then it's this other thing. And it's this other thing. And they're like, fuck you talking about? It's none of those things. This is bullshit. You're lying to me, right? And they bail. But when you see somebody who's authentic, like I love personal development. And the thing that I love most is when I see somebody who's authentic. It's just so refreshing. Sometimes you meet somebody and maybe they're an asshole and they're like, they're a little rough around the edges. They curse, they do a few things that you might not personally do, but they're real.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, fucking thank God. Let's go sit down and have a drink. Let's have a coffee. Let me get to know you. Because I know that maybe you're not likable. Maybe you're not affable, but fuck that, man. You're real. You're who you are. Yeah. You've come into who you are. And there is power in that. And similarly with products and brands, there's an intuitive realization of what the spirit of that thing is, what the spirit of that business is. And if you can learn how to find that, the world's your oyster.
I like that, man. I like where you're coming from with this. Do you use that on the professional realm as well? I mean, meaning you figure out what your truth is at an individual level, which is, it sounds like that's what you've done. And then you embrace it, you own it, you stick to your truth. And then do you use that to, or does that influence what you tap into on the professional side of things?
Totally. Absolutely. I think when you're authentic, when you're the real you attract other people that are also authentic. And this is another lesson that I teach in my Amazon Mastery, our business mastery program, where I teach people how to do that. Again, if you guys are interested, reach out, use the code Rafael CEO, and we'll give it to you for free. Email me at darkzess@gmail.com. That's DARKZESS@gmail.com, or go to FBAsellercourse.com. FBA for Fulfillment by Amazon, sellercourse.com, and book a time to talk to me. I'm happy to talk to anybody on the show who wants.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah. So personally, one of the big lessons is that once you come into your authenticity, once you come into who you really are and who you know you can be, you start to learn your strengths and weaknesses. But more importantly, you realize that this is your journey and you are here to do what you're here to do. You have a mission. Now, if other people want to take part of that, great. If you're hiring people, you manage them. They don't manage you. We don't go to doctors. We don't go to lawyers. We don't go to people like that and ask them to fix a problem. We hire them to execute on our mission. So if we go to a doctor, we say, hey, I've got this health issue. Here's 5 things that I found to deal with it. Here's what I need from you. I need you to give me a diagnosis. I need you to give me 3 treatment options. And then I need you to look at these alternative ways that I'm thinking about and tell me why they're right or wrong. Yeah. So similarly, a while ago, I realized that I had some pretty fucking limiting beliefs about myself. Even though I've made $1 billion in revenue, I'm pretty good place in my life. I've got a collection of cars. I've got homes. I've done it all. Traveled private planes, all over the world, everything first class. I've done all of that. And I continue to live a pretty good life. I'm a family guy. I travel with my family, my beautiful wife and my son, and we travel all over the world. And anywhere we're at, we're making money because people are buying our products and using our businesses and services that we do. But I thought to myself, man, I've got some blocks and I'd like to get those removed. And someone said, oh, well, you should go see a psychologist. I know you're a psychologist. And I thought, oh, okay, well, that's interesting. And I remember watching the show Billions and I thought, fuck, man, I want to have a Wendy Rhodes. That would be awesome, right? I want to hire that person. Does that exist? So funny enough, I started looking. And what I did was I actually found a psychologist who was interested in playing that role for me. And I remember having a list of exactly what I wanted to do. And I'm a big fan of NLP and which is neuro-linguistic programming, for people who don't know, as well as hypnosis. And I wanted this person, they were a clinical hypnotist or are a clinical hypnotist. And I wanted them to run certain scripts in order for me to eliminate certain negative talk that I had going on. So I created a whole program and I went to them and they were floored. They were blown away. And I spent 6 months running these scripts and doing this program with this person. And it ended up being very effective for me. And the thing that was interesting was they were like, man, people always come in and they're like, I've got this problem, and they talk for an hour and they expect me to fix it. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And they run through the psychology books and they, tell me about your mom and your dad. They're like, when you came in, you were super directed. And that's why at the end of 6 months, you were done and you had your resolution. In fact, I had it in 30 days, but most people don't do that. Similarly, when you hire an attorney, you're the one managing that professional, not that professional managing you. Excuse me for just 1 sec. I'm going to adjust my lighting here. I'll be right back. 1
sec. It's really cool to see that you're coming from a space of empowerment when it comes to the people that you're hiring. And that's not just talking about the team itself. It's talking about everybody around you. Professionals and attorneys and doctors and psychologists and whatever. You have that sense of direction of where you're headed in terms of what you want as a result. And I think that a lot of that is missing when it comes to when people jump into entrepreneurship. It's chasing that dollar. It's chasing that. Okay, how do we get from point A to point green, as fast as possible? But there's a lot of things that can be omitted from that vision. There's a lot of things that can get us in this space where we, inevitably feel trapped after a period of time because we get caught in the taskiness of things. And taking a retrospective approach to it and seeing who we are as individuals, I think, I mean, it's some of the best invested time ever.
It's true. It's true. And it's amazing when it comes to things like books or audiobooks or programs. You know, like I've got my book there. I spent years writing, years living, writing and perfecting that. And you can buy it for like $20, right? Or you can buy a Tony Robbins book for $20, $15 or $10 and take away all this amazing knowledge, all this amazing information from people. But most people don't do it. Most people will spend their time just watching bullshit. They'll spend their time watching Netflix, and nothing wrong with that. I like Netflix. I like watching HBO. I love doing all that stuff. But if you don't have the personal development down, if you are not constantly working on yourself, if you are not constantly consuming information for the betterment of your human organism, you will not improve. If we do not move forward, we die. And that's the thing I want people to remember. And I make this point. It's one of my favorite quotes is, while you are sleeping, your enemies are planning your demise. And it's funny, but if you look throughout history, it's true. Every great leader, every great civilization, there's always somebody waiting on the wings, just waiting for you to drop the ball a little bit. So you have to be ahead of the curve. You have to be way out there ahead. You look at people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. I mean, they're fucking sending rockets to the moon. They don't care. They're way ahead of the rest of us. No one's outsurping them. And similarly, in your own business, in your own life, you always have to be doing more than you think you need to be doing in order to just stay on pace.
I agree, right? Like the extra mile is the loneliest place. That's why people call it the extra mile. Going the extra mile. There's no competition there. There's I think when we get to that space of when we get to that mindset, first of all, the ceiling, the glass ceiling that we're often like faced with can start to fade and really go away, because what's stopping you at that point, right? What is stopping your success? What is stopping you from getting to that next level? What is stopping you from picturing that next level and having the awareness that you can get things done? I think a lot of times, at least for me, one of the biggest challenges was the size of the possibilities. I just wasn't aware that I could think bigger. I wasn't aware that I could do more and impact more people and have bigger ripple effect in my surroundings. When that kicked in, when that clicked, and I owned it, everything changed. Like everything I was doing felt small in comparison to where I wanted to get to. But I think that's the beginning, right? There's mental battles that go in there, and it goes to show how often we have to come back and just fine tune ourselves as we're going through the process. Heck, you made $1 billion and you were still having, self-doubt issues. I mean, that's, again, it goes to show that this is something that's a constant, right? It's called development. It's not, the epitome of personal enlightenment.
It's true.
Yeah. So you tapped into Amazon businesses, and now you have multiple ventures going on. Okay. After reaching success to that degree where you saw it happen, where you, really just, you guerrilla your way through something that's really, really, really fucking cool. What made you say or feel like, okay, I got to do more. I want to do more. I want to, what's the next step? How did you open up that chapter?
That's a good question. I don't really know what makes me want to do more. If you ask me what motivates me, my family motivates me. I'm a family guy. My 8-year-old son, who wakes up every morning with an absolute excitement for life, inspires me.
Yeah.
Just traveling the world with my wife and my son inspires me. Creating more wealth inspires me, not just for myself, but inspiring others to create more wealth, like creating wealth through my Amazon Mastery program, or a new venture that we just launched called Podcast Cola. By the way, anyone's interested, check out podcastcola.com, where we get people to tell their story, share their story with the world on the best platform to do it, which is podcasts like this one. And we get people unlimited booking. So if you're a real estate agent, an investment banker, anybody with any kind of product or service to sell, the best way we found is through storytelling. And how do people get to know you? It's through stories like you and me have been telling on this podcast, by getting on great podcasts and being able to share those stories that live forever on the internet. Right. And what Podcast Cola does is we have relationships with thousands of great podcasts. There's over 7 million podcasts out there. And we get people just like yourself or me booked on those podcasts and empower them to tell their stories in a meaningful way.
Here's the thing about story, right? You never know when that's going to have a ripple effect. You never know when you're going to plant the seed in somebody else's head. I get messages all the time. Hey, listen, I saw you, or you posted this thing, I don't know, months ago, and it really resonated. And now I'm doing this and that. And I'm not saying, we're the only catalyst, but when you put your story out there through such a powerful vehicle like conversation, it's you don't know how far that's going to make it. You don't know how far the ripple effects are going to go and the impact that we're going to have goes. And I mean, I agree. I mean, hell, that's why I just did a podcast this morning with one of my idols when it comes to business development. And it wouldn't be possible if the power of conversation wasn't there. So,
who's your idol?
Gino Wickman. He's one of the people that I looked up to when I was first starting the business, learning about processes and systems, and just had him on the podcast. He wrote Traction, a couple of other books. Yeah. So super cool guy. But I mean, it comes to show, right? Power of story. That's what we did. We went through his background, how he got started, and it opens a lot of doors. It opens a lot of, just for the sake of having a structured type of conversation. There's an intention behind it. There's a purpose behind it. So yeah, I mean, there's 7 million podcasts out there. I think there should be another 7 million or 7 million podcasts out there, because it's definitely, one of the best ways of, one, getting seeds planted when it comes to that mindset. And then two, just opening up you're breaking your paradigms, just opening up your perspective on things that, we're just often just not aware, things that are possible.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what we were talking about the difference between push marketing and pull marketing, the difference becoming a decision architect. Push marketing.
I love that term, by the way.
Yeah. Push marketing being, hey, you want to buy my thing? You want to buy here's my thing. It's so great. It goes so fast and it's so shiny and it's the best quality and you won't be disappointed. Fuck you, man. No one believes you.
Yeah, it's been done.
Pull marketing is, man, let me tell you a story about this thing that I bought once. And it was so amazing. And it changed my life by doing this, that, and the other. And people will go, where do I get that? And they think it's their idea.
Well, I think some of the magic when it comes to pull marketing is that it's led through value. You lead with value when you're doing that kind of stuff. Right? You're leading with value. For example, you dropping in the access to the training, right? It's going to get people to, it's going to get you eyeballs, but you're leading with value. You're planting a seed of growth there. And I think that's what's so amazing about that kind of stuff.
I mean, look, but I've done at this point about 200, maybe 250 podcasts, something like that, between 200 and 250. And if it's one person in their basement that I'm talking to, or a big show like Adam Carolla or Brad Lee, where I'm talking to an audience of 2-3 million people, I do the same thing.
Yeah. I
tell the same story. I mean, occasionally I'll tell a different story, but also tell the same type of stories and do the exact same thing, which is A, be authentic, right? Me and you are just having a conversation. And B, by being authentic, I realized, you know what, man, I really, truly, genuinely don't give a fuck. I don't care if somebody buys what I have to sell or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell my story. And if you feel drawn to what I'm offering, come on board. We can have a conversation. If not, fuck off. And that's the best place to be. And that's what I want to encourage and inspire people to do. People ask me oftentimes, oh, what's freedom mean for you? Easy. Freedom is being able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, how you want.
Yeah.
That's why people who are millionaires and billionaires, a lot of them don't spend money on a lot of stuff, but what they will spend money on, private planes. Why? Why is there such a market for something that costs so much more, so many times more than even flying business or first class, right? You can fly to Europe for, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000 business class, right? How much does it cost to fly private? $100,000, $80,000 at least to Europe. Why do people pay that all day long? There's a line of people because of freedom, because they fucking can. So the more freedom you have, the more of your time you get to keep to do the shit you love to do. So how do we get you there? Through influence, through storytelling. And that's what I teach. So for anybody of your listeners, again, if you're interested, reach out to me. My direct email is darkzess@gmail.com, darkzess@gmail.com. Use the code Rafael, CEO. And I'm happy to give you the 1-hour course for free. If you're interested in being booked on shows like this one, check out Podcast Cola and book a time with us. We'd love to talk to you.
I love
should
it,
get
man.
on Podcast Cola. I think you'd be great on podcast, man.
Let's do it. I'm game for that. You can't threaten me with a good time, bro. No, I think one thing that I heard a while back when it comes to authenticity, it's and it resonated, and it's been, it's stuck with me. It's people got to turn you up or they got to turn you off. One of the two. It's anywhere in the middle. It's really, it's not the audience, right? It's people who are not tied into. You don't have that raving fan, a type of listener. It's if most of your audience is there, there's something that can be done when it comes to just. I'm not talking about aggressiveness, or I'm talking about any of that stuff, but it's authenticity, right? It's how you shine through conversation. So yeah. Now let me ask you a couple of questions before we kind of start signing off. But sure. It's so you've hit it big on a few things, right? What about the story of rags to riches, and right now in a world that's so saturated, there's so many things coming up on a regular basis. Do you feel like there's still hope for that kind of stuff to happen, or and if so, how?
Yeah, I think more so now than ever are there opportunities. There's opportunities on Amazon. People can start an Amazon company and create predictable, recurring revenue streams every day. And I see it happen every single day. People making money on the Amazon platform. And really, like things like Amazon today is still day one. There's so much opportunity, so many things that you can do, but it requires a shift of mindset. A good teacher of mine once told me, if you keep doing what you're doing, you'll keep getting what you got. So you got to have a shift, and that shift's got to be up here and in here, in your heart. Yeah.
It's a two-step process. You can have all the systems in place, the best business model, the best opportunity out there, but if your mind is not wired right, or what you're doing doesn't align with the person who you are, it's not going to pan out. There's no sustainability in that type of stuff.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
I love it, man. So you gave us a couple of links. If somebody wants to reach out to you and maybe you tap into, or I don't know, send you a message, social media and that kind of stuff, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so if anyone's interested in being booked on shows like this, check out podcastcola.com. If you're interested in the Amazon course, go to fbasellercourse.com. You can also check me out on ShaahinCheyenne.com. The book, Billion, How I Became King of the Thrill Pill Cult, is out now on Amazon, Audible. Read it while you're working out. Check out the Audible. I'm a big fan of audiobooks.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to them in 2X, 3X. It's my favorite. And reach out to me by email, guys. I'm giving you my direct email. I answer every email right away. Personally, I'm very accessible. I love talking to people and learning about what your goals are. So If you're interested in any of the above, reach out to me, darkzess@gmail.com. That's DARKZESS@gmail.com.
darksays@gmail.com. Perfect, man. I have, thank you for that, by the way. I mean, I think people, you guys got to take advantage of that, of the program that's out there. Anything that plants a seed on prosperity, I mean, why not, right? Why not at least explore it, especially when it's, you're being generous to put it out there for free for my audience, man. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Before we close it off, I have this one question that I think is my favorite question of all time. But if you were walking down the street and you ran into your 17-year-old self, what advice would you tell that kid?
I'd say don't be scared of spending money on personal development. If you've got 10 hours to cut down a tree, spend 9.5 of that time sharpening your axe.
Yeah.
And seek mentorship. Find people who've been where you want to go and get them to teach you how they got there.
Cut the learning curve. I love it. I did that so late in the game, bro.
Yeah.
So late. I feel like I lost a good decade.
I know.
In terms of leaps and bounds.
But there's always time. And most men don't reach their full potential until after they're 50. So you seem like a young guy. I think you still have years ahead of you. And probably the big thing that you're going to do hasn't even come onto your radar yet.
I think so. I think there's plenty of runway plenty of runway left. So yeah, but it's important to have that awareness, right? Now you see killers. I mean, you see kids in their 20s who are just absolutely crushing it because they have that ability to be open to outside advice, right? One of the best pieces of advice was that I've ever received and landed was who, not how. Who knows more about this than I do? Who can help me get to this faster? Now, how can I figure this shit out? That takes a lot of time. And a lot of times it doesn't even line up with the stuff that I want to do. So I agree with you. I think we work for our options. Any effort that we're taking in terms of an entrepreneur risks or whatever, it's the basis of it is the aspiration of options. I want to own my options. I want to have the most options as possible. And that's how we go about them. So getting there fast is definitely one of the key factors.
No better way to get rich than quick.
Quick. Yeah. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show with us, and of course, very, very grateful for you sharing that the program with us. Follow the. I'm gonna put all the links. Also the links to the book. And I'll definitely be going through that, leaving a review, and we'll make sure to have all the links that you just mentioned in the show notes, so people can take absolute advantage of those. It's insane. People just go ahead and do it. It's a no-brainer.
Do it.
Doing it. Sounds good, brother. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, Rafael.
Fam, stay focused. You got this.